Recording in progress.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, Aaron.
Hello.
Hey there.
All right. According to one of the clocks, anyway, it is 5:30. So we are Lewes Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. It is Tuesday, May 27th. It is 5:30. We have two members virtually, Glenn Dunnington and Aaron Huertas, and Simon Huertas as well. He's a special guest.
He is Simon Finkel.
Oh, sorry.
Just absolutely for the record, doesn't need to go in the minutes. But yeah, I am doing some solo parenting today, so if folks need me for something and I'm offline, I'll just type in the chat BRB if I need to attend to the baby who is increasingly mobile and has opinions about things. But I'll try to pay attention and participate as best as I can.
We appreciate you being here, so thank you.
Hey, Mary, if I could just note, I expect we'll be done by then, but I just apologize. I need to leave the meeting at 6:30 tonight for another engagement, so I wanted to let you know up front. So.
Okay. We'll hustle ourselves, and perhaps we'll all have an early evening. We have Ray Quillen, we have Jack Faraday. I'm not going to do a good job of that. We have Julia Kirsch, and we have
Lieutenant James Zotto.
Lieutenant James Zotto is with us. Thank you for being here. I'm Mary Roth, our chair. So we're going to jump in. I think before we get into the minutes, just calling the meeting to order and announcements. I want to extend a thank you to everyone who was available and joined us for Lewes Bike to Work Day, which was Friday, May 16th. We had about 35 or so people, which was great. We had 3 last year, so way to go. We increased that attendance, but it was great. Lewes Cycle, Brian was here and just did an amazing job. So we're really thankful to everybody who joined us and to Lewes Cycle for supporting it. And we look forward to doing it again next year. We had a lot of folks who weren't working, but they biked to City Hall. And then we had bagels and coffee. So we'll look forward to next year. Moving into approval of the minutes. Last meeting, folks had not reviewed the 11/26 minutes. They took a little bit of time to get to us, but we have them. I don't know if anyone's had any time to look at them since, and if so, if we have any motions.
They look fine to me, but I'll wait and see if anybody else has any comments.
Yeah, I thought I looked at them, Mary. No changes here. Thank you.
Jack?
Yeah, all good here too.
Okay, then somebody want a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Okay, second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are good. So minutes of 11/26/24 are approved. That brings us to the 4/22 meeting minutes. I don't know if anybody has any comments on those. I will jump in and say that I do have some just sort of nuance corrections to the public comment section and one other piece that if we want to go ahead and approve them with edits, I'm happy to send those after this meeting to you, Julia, for those to be changed?
Yep.
Okay. Then I'll take a motion if anyone would like to.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved, thank you, and I will send you just a couple of nuance pieces to it.
Got it.
Okay. Next item under old business is really just going through our current initiatives and updating so that we don't put everything on the agenda. We'd have a full page of agenda items, so they're all in there. They're items we've talked about before. I just do an update on some things. Our update of the charter Julia, you have that, and it was going to legal counsel.
Correct, it has gone to legal.
Okay. Do
And
we,
I do not have a response back yet. But
Okay.
yes, it has gone.
okay, so we're just waiting to hear
Yep.
back. Okay. At one point, I was asked to reach out, it's been a couple of months, I was asked to reach out and obtain a sidewalk study that was done by GMB, and it was done in 2022. It is a citywide sidewalk study. I can't speak to how comprehensive it is, but we do have the file now. I didn't know whether, what next steps were, or if this was just something that the committee wanted. It was a discussion.
Yeah, I think I brought that up, and I was just, I knew there was the study, and I didn't know what the follow-on was supposed to be. Had there been money from the state or somebody to fix the sidewalks then? It just dropped, so I'm
Okay.
wondering if there's any follow-on plan, or should there be some kind of follow-on plan?
So how about if I forward to you the study? You
That'd be
take a
great.
look at it, and then can also share some contact info with you if you want to chase that one down and
Sounds
share
good.
with us at the next meeting?
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's great. Thanks, Jen. Lewes Bike Plan is going to be discussed later on in our agenda, so I'll go ahead and table that one from here. Savannah Road Master Plan is still incomplete. We're looking for an update sometime, I would imagine, the next meeting or so. Outreach events. At the last meeting, we talked about DelDOT is doing bike safety checks, and we were hoping to partner with those, with DelDOT and Sussex Cyclists, just as we're working to kind of build our relationships with some community groups and make them a bit stronger. So the bike safety checks will take place at the Lewes Library Trailhead. They are on June 2nd, July 14th, and August 4th. I had sent out an email to folks just asking if anyone was available. I think right now I've heard back from most folks on the committee, and we can confirm that we have at least one person from the committee for each of the dates. I did let John Fiore at DelDOT know, and hopefully we can promote that out. Julie, I think I copied you
Yep.
on the email, and see what that looks like.
I can plan on going the 6th too. I don't know about those other 2 dates.
Okay, great, thank you for that. Yeah, and I don't really know what role we'll have there, because some of it is just doing a simple bike check, some
Yeah.
might be doing something more. I think we're just more than anything trying to be a part of folks.
Yeah, just
So,
get some communication.
I can do August 4th.
that's your birthday. You'll be older that day, will you be able to do that?
My wife told me we're not doing anything special.
Sorry about that, Ray.
You'll be 49 then?
Yes. I wish.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Maps, print electronic, I think we're good to go unless Glenn, you or Aaron have an update on maps, that's something we need to do?
I just have a question. I've been putting out some maps. I noticed we need to replace one of the boxes. Julie, do you have some additional map holders?
I do not believe I do. I can check, and if I don't, I can put in an order. Would that
You
work?
should go ahead and put in an order. I have one or two, I think just one.
How many would you like me to order?
I don't know, Glenn, what do you think, 5?
5 is a good number, I think.
Yeah,
Okay, you got it.
yeah.
And I'll find out
Yeah.
offline where to get them
Yeah.
from.
I did a few drop-offs too. I'm gonna try to do the QR codes with like a plastic acrylic thing that I can laser engrave onto. The wood looks nice, but it's starting to warp. It's not surprising given the elements here. So I'll keep iterating on that, but it looks like folks are using the online map resources, and I'm very happy with that.
Aaron, what I had done for the beaches, for the beach rules, is I put them on a thick double-sided sticker that's held up on the beaches all season last season. So if that's something you'd like me to, I can show them to you. They're in my office. If you're around and about, I can show them to you. And if you
Or you
want,
want to
we
send
could
me
do
the
that.
link to wherever you ordered them from? I'm happy to read up on that.
I had them ordered from our specialty printer.
Okay, great.
So Aaron, there's the map in front of half full case there. It doesn't have a lid on it, and could you replace that, or do you want to, Julia, how long will it take to get do you think, the additional ones?
Just depends on where I'm ordering them from.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll replace those. I might try to find another spot on those racks to put them. Those racks, or the shape of the racks is not hyper amenable to putting a holder on them.
Yes.
I'll noodle around on it and see if there's a spot by like a sign, or if there's a better way to put them on the racks that makes sense. But we'll figure it out.
Okay, thanks, Aaron.
Sure.
Julia, at our last meeting, you had offered to enlarge the map for the kiosk. Is that still on your
Yes,
things to do?
it's on my to-do.
Perfect,
I
thank you.
apologize.
No, that's all right. It's there. City website is ongoing. Aaron, anything you need from anybody for that?
No, I think I mentioned last time I put the low stress bike route on there and the loop on there. If folks have other routes they want to add to it, if there's other sort of places we want to encourage people to think about for where to ride that we think is nicer or safer than other spots, we can put them on there.
Okay. Good Neighbor brochure. Has the 2025 been printed yet, or is the city still doing?
That comes from building and planning. I will check upstairs with Janelle tomorrow to find out.
Okay.
If it's not done already, it should be done soon.
It has a couple of bullets about bike ped. One, I'd like to add to that, bike helmets and just the state law.
Got it.
Thank you. Infrastructure improvements. At the last meeting, we talked about the redesign. Robin Davis from BPW was here to talk about the redesign at Gill's Neck as a result of the pipe, BPW putting the pipe under the canal, and what that looks like. We had some safety concerns. I was asked after that meeting to go back to DelDOT and talk to them about it and see whether there was any way, we were hoping that maybe the trail connection from Gill's Neck could be widened a bit, but it's already in place, the bollard's in. So I did speak to the bike ped folks at DelDOT, and their answer was they appreciate what our concerns were. They would like to wait through the summer to see if folks are having problems at that turn, whether folks are using the grass as the connection. And then, if so, talk about a fix after that. I said that I would bring that back to the committee because we appreciate their feedback. But if this committee wants to recommend a fix in advance of waiting through the summer, or get a bid into the summer, whatever it is. Blue, I took a couple of pictures for folks. So this is Gill's Neck Road. This is what it looks like as of actually this afternoon. Folks on Zoom, can you see this picture?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was a good answer. So when I spoke to the DelDOT folks, the main reason that they recommended this redesign was because when the trail came straight down to Gill's Neck, the landscaping, the trees, et cetera, that belonged to the neighbor, and getting those trimmed appropriately was a safety hazard. So that's why it was redesigned. One of the concerns that they do agree with, but they'd like to see what happens, is that folks are kind of going to come straight down the trail like you're looking at and come straight across the grass versus using the trail to come out to Gill's Neck Road, and that it would be possible to landscape that to restrict folks to using the trail. Ray, I want to bring you into this, but I have two pictures I want to show first, and then I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
And you go. So this is the only signage right now at the trail that essentially tells any users that they're reaching Gills Neck Road and whether they need to do anything or not do anything. There isn't any other signage as far as directional signage is concerned that you're going into Lewes or whatever you're doing other than this one. This sign is up, which is your stop, look again. I thought I read something in a paper somewhere that there are folks running around graffitiing things. Did I read that somewhere?
Yes. There was a series of graffiti incidents over the past 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
And we recently made an arrest on the individual that committed those acts.
Oh, terrific. Thank you.
Outstanding.
Nicely done. This sign is relatively new, but it's got graffiti all over it. The Look Again sign, that one. There you go.
Yeah, I tried to scrape that off yesterday and was unable to.
And then I think there's one more, there we go. That's the other one that, yeah. So
Where's that one?
make a left onto Gills Neck, that's what you're looking at.
Oh, so it's on the back. Okay.
I think that's
And
it.
they're not interested in doing helpful signage?
Yeah, I know. Could we get them? Is there any other, is that the end of the pictures? Okay, can you go back to that one? Ray, I'm going to turn it over to you because this is really something you brought to our attention.
Yes, but my concern is that before they did these changes, there was already worn grass right where that yellow guide wire is, because people would cut that corner as you're coming from Savannah Road on a bike, and they would cut that corner instead of trying to take, that hard right there, and they would cut it off so it was more of a rounded turn. My concern is since there's no shoulders on Gills Neck Road, and as you're coming down from Savannah to try to turn on the trail, if there's cars behind you or a car behind you, you feel a little pressed with someone riding behind you, and you want to get off the road as soon as possible. And I've ridden an awful lot, but you still feel that pressure with that vehicle coming behind you. You want to try to get off the road quickly. And my concern is that, and I think Glenn made the comment at the last meeting, people are just going to turn on the grass area instead of going around to turn to the right of the yellow bollard there. And it's a harder turn there. It's instead of a right angle, you're almost making a halfway U-turn type of thing to get on the Georgetown Trail. Now, if you're going to the junction and Breakwater, going to the left there, it's another matter. But that's what my concern was. And I thought it would also be helpful, and I thought about this before, if there was some painting on Gills Neck Road that showed that, so motorists were aware of the fact that cyclists may be making a turn there. But that's my main concern, is that you're feeling pressure from vehicles behind you, and you're looking for an easier turn there as opposed to the one where they're asking us to make, on the hard pavement.
I support everything you said, Ray, and I agree that the right-hand turn would be a little harder. I think it would be perfect if there was some shrubbery blocking that straight line shot, and opening that turn up a little bit would make it perfect. If they want to wait until the end of the year, see how the grass wears out, then that might be okay, I guess. But
and my concern is, as far as safety is concerned, if we think that there's something that's fundamentally wrong, designed wrong, why wait until after the summer to see if they're going to wear into the grass before we make a change. I would hate for something to happen to say that we're going to sit on something and someone get hit, rear-ended. Yesterday I saw a man and woman coming down there on their bikes, and the lady having a real problem. She rode into the grass, trying to ease the turn there instead of the way that the actual pavement asks you to do that. It's a easy decision for me. Not that people will agree with it, but I think it's a safety problem. It's just designed poorly. It corrects the vision thing. Actually, the hedge, DelDOT had that surveyed, and I think the hedge for the homeowner there is actually on DelDOT property because it's 66 feet, 33 feet from the middle of the old railroad tracks, 33 feet on each side. That's what their right-of-way is. So the hedge is actually in part of their right-of-way.
So do we have a Ray or Glenn, do we have a recommendation of what you'd like the committee to do?
Well, I would like to see, if it doesn't have to be 10 foot wide, I would like to see, some kind of a paid payment, maybe just for 5 feet wide, right next to the guide wire there, and maybe putting a arrow heading west from Gill's Neck there, so people know that it's for cyclists or pedestrians that are heading west on the Georgetown Lewes path there, as opposed to if DelDOT's concern is people going to be coming east and will cut across the grass there. If you narrow it and only make it for 5 feet instead of the 10 feet with an arrow going west, then it would be more obvious that it's a one-way type of path.
I feel like it's an area that needs directions of some sort.
Yep.
I don't know what the fix is, but even on the ground, there's no arrows, there's nothing, whether it's on the trail or whatever. And I think for all of us that know where we're going, and that's fine. But for folks who have no idea where they're going, I'm not sure what they're going to do when they get here.
And I ride, as opposed to the streets, the older I get, the more cautious that I'm getting. So I'm staying off the streets as much as, more so than I used to. I'll just say that. And that's my daily route there. And I'm seeing more and more people in that particular area pulling out maps or looking at their phones, trying to figure out where they want to go. And I routinely now just stop and I say, I live here. Where is it you're trying to get to? And and try to assist them at that point. So I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, Ray, I want to echo some of your thoughts here and some of the other comments. Some paint on the ground, telling people where they're going, I think would be really helpful there. And something I've been trying to wrap my head around is that sort of natural path for folks who are coming off of Gill's Neck and making a right onto the trail network. Ideally, would that be kind of a narrow, one-way thing for people who want to come off of the road? Because when we talked about this before, I initially thought about it as like, well, what if this whole area had a lot more pavement with signage and markers and those sort of things? So I think there's a lot of ways that we could do it, but I think we're identifying a lot of issues here we'd like DelDOT to address, because we see the backups and we've all had the experiences of trying to make kind of sharp turns to get back onto the trail.
Right. This is my second go around. I took this to to the Delaware Bike Council probably a couple years ago, and addressed these concerns, and they wanted to wait at that point. I wanted them to put, because at other places on the Georgetown Lewis Trail, they have errors, on either side of the bollard that shows them which way to go. And I asked them to put that in these locations, and they wanted to wait, and it's never happened. I think the big yellow arrows that they have on the pavement would be helpful to to help clarify, giving people some direction.
So if Jack, is there anything you would like?
Sorry, and I think just to build on Ray's point, I think we need really basic stuff for some of our trail users, like downtown Lewis is this way. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I support more information there for either on signs on the ground or signage. But also, I was going to ask, is there a crosswalk there now, a painted crosswalk? Is that,
No.
Because it's a crosswalk to nowhere.
Yeah.
well, the other side is the canal parking area, so there is a parking area over there.
Yeah, what is that
I don't think
going
so.
to, yeah,
It's further
asphalt
down.
now. No, they crusher runned where, across from this.
Okay.
Blue? Yeah. Can you, oh, you can't see it. That's my fabulous parking job. That's crusher run that's in there right now. All of that over there. Yeah, I don't
Was
think.
that a boat launch area, or is it nothing?
No, I'm guessing it's not done yet. Maybe whatever maybe, I can't imagine you could park there because there's nothing keeping you from driving into the canal. There. I thought about that today. I was like, oh, yeah. So I don't know what the
Yeah,
future
so I
of
guess,
that looks like.
I mean, if there are going to be something, then I'm sure they will address a
Okay,
crosswalk.
thank you,
in the future.
Blue. So I have a couple of thoughts. If I'm hearing folks, we do have a number of recommendations for that area. I think it would be really helpful to have something visual. So whether that is something that you, Ray, want to start and draw and share with some other folks. I have this. I don't know if you.
Yeah,
you have
I've got that, and I have some pictures. I could put something together, sure.
That has some wayfinding and some other things. I'm not saying we're going to wait until June, but if you can share that with some folks and we can get some feedback. And then maybe what we could do is share that with you, Julia, who might be able to pull a meeting together where we could have DelDOT and have a conversation. But let us get ourselves together
Just
first.
let me know.
Okay, yeah. Is that okay with you, Ray?
Yes.
Is that
thank
okay
you.
with everybody? Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
Okay. ODA feedback, we asked Julia if she would check on the SS4A safety grant, which included the pop-up projects, which would have been the advisory shoulders on Gills Neck Road.
From what I understand, everything is teed up so that when the funds are released, we are set to go.
Right, but it's still frozen.
It is still frozen,
Right.
but we anticipate that portions will be released
Someday.
someday.
There
We'll
we
say
go.
someday.
Okay. Glenn, while we have you, before we get to 6:30, the bike corral.
Yes.
So, Julia, you sent an email about the possibility of adding a path to the, hang on one sec, to the picnic table. But we've been at this for a very long time. And I remember a picnic table, trash cans. I don't know that we ever saw a full budget for it. But Glenn, this was your baby. Can you jump in here?
Yeah, so I guess, Julie, we have a price from our maintenance department.
Correct. But he
Okay.
is that he can
So I
probably
don't
get
know
it.
what that is exactly. I guess what I would like to do, if it's possible, is to meet with somebody there and just say, what is this $3,000 include, and can we, is there something less that we could do to make it more affordable? I think we said that we wanted trash cans, and so the neighbor to that lot said he would like trash cans there also. We did buy a picnic table, right?
Yes, we have it.
So we have a picnic table. So, I mean, I guess that we can't just go put the picnic table on the grass. We want something else done. And it has to be back away from so the BPW people, that we've spoken to them about it before, and they said we could put it right adjacent to the additional parking, but you met with some other people there that said, no, we back our trucks there. I guess right now we're just looking for a lower cost to put the picnic table down, right? That's sort of the key at this point.
So the reason it's going to be more money than we anticipated was because of where the picnic table has to go, and building a path along that area to get to the picnic table, and then the flat area for the picnic table.
Okay. So I don't understand why we need a path.
Because
the only thing we need in my mind is a place to put a picnic table, and I would guess that guys don't want to move the picnic table when they cut the grass. So we just need some surface underneath that. That's my expectation. The path seems a little.
okay, I'll talk to maintenance about that, because that's not the direction my brain went. So maybe that is something that we could do, is just have the surrounding area from the picnic table covered in the stone. Because the reason it was going to be so much more money was because of the amount of stone it was going to take to get there. Kenny in maintenance had said that he can probably get it done for cheaper, but if we wanted a number, which is what I was asking him for, he said just go with 3,000, and said, I can
Can I
probably
talk
get
to
it lower than
somebody
that.
at maintenance, Julia? Would that be possible?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is there someone I could speak to and just come to an agreement about what, the minimums required, and maybe reduce the
Well, he's
budget
trying to get it
cost?
done as cheaply as possible, so that's not a concern. It's not like we're doing things that are fancy. We're just trying to get it done.
Well, I think, though, we started with this started 2.5 years ago, I think, which was, let's
mural.
try to get more folks to use the corral, or while they're at the corral, to appreciate it and say, oh, you know what, this is where I'll park my bike when I come back. So we thought, well, maybe if they had a spot that they could sit for a minute or whatever it might be, and then it was okay, well, if you're going to sit, and you have something, you got to put that trash somewhere. Okay, we get that. But it was never to sort of make it a park. That wasn't the idea. So I think that's where we're just trying to.
From what I understand, it was that the contractors who completed our lawn service, to have them move it and weed whack around it, it was going to be significantly more for them to do that work. So if we put stone in a concentrated area, and the original thought was the stone would go right around where the bike racks are now, because it's the same kind of stone, and it would go in that area. But BPW, I know the board is the one that said that they could put a picnic table there, but the BPW workers said, I backed my truck up here, we could not go here. So we found another location further closer to the canal, and it was going to be the same thing, that the stone was just going to come off of the bike rack. But now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we don't need the stone pathway. It can just be the
Grass.
Yeah.
Right, just under the
Just,
table.
yeah.
So Glenn, will you work with Julia on this, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Julia, what I would like to do is, I'll get with you, and maybe you get a maintenance guy, and we just have a walk over there together at one point.
Yeah, that works for me. Just let me know when you're free, Glenn.
Okay, thanks.
Next one was the trail signs we asked for out along Cape Henlopen Drive, along the trail. Those were signage not when you're leaving the trail coming out to Cape Henlopen Drive, more from Cape Henlopen Drive into the trail, where there had been some accidents as far as folks just kind of riding their bike in and directly into traffic, essentially. I did finally connect with Jace Madden, the superintendent of Cape Henlopen State Park. She asked me specific questions. I sent her the pictures. So waiting to hear back from her, but she was not put off by the request.
Okay.
I did say also that if you had any concerns about if cost became an issue, to let us know, and we would do our very best to help you with that, so. So at least we have somebody who's
Good.
on it, so that's good news.
What's her first name?
Jayce.
Okay.
Trail maintenance schedule, we talked a little bit about that at the last meeting. Aaron, I don't know if you want to talk at all about that, or if we want to just, if you have an update or anything. I think we'll be right back.
Sorry, the baby was coming at me.
That's
What did you
okay.
say?
Trail maintenance schedule, we talked a little bit about engaging some of bike stores and other stuff.
Sorry, no updates there. I wound up focusing on the bike to work stuff.
No worries, just ask.
Yeah, although we did promote the, not sure if it was trail maintenance, we promoted the new signage and being able to report problems.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have we gotten any problems reported?
Yes, we have had 4 since our last meeting. Flooding on the corners of the road came in today. That's a DelDOT road, so it has to go through DelDOT. Bollards at Donovan's Crossing, that's also DelDOT. Vegetation overgrowth on one of the trails, maintenance took care of that. The fence over at the canal on the other side coming out where the trail is, one of the posts was missing, that was replaced, and the bollard at Franklin was also fixed by maintenance.
Awesome.
So, we've had 5. Sorry, we've had 5, and since our last meeting. So I'll continue to report on them every month.
So I did the one.
And
on the
I'm relieved
flooding.
to say that not all of those were me, so I'm glad that other
No.
people are using them.
You've only put in 2 so far, Aaron. I'm tracking you.
So I did
I'm on the
one
leaderboard, I know.
on the flooding, and I had said last time that we were just putting them in as record keeping. So I did take, after one rain, I drove around trying to find the areas where, and as far as on east of Savannah, I only had those 2 locations. But we're going to get a lot of rain tomorrow. I'll plan to drive around and look at the west side and look at the other areas of Lewes. And it's, I know it's DelDOT, we just said we'd use it as a placekeeper to keep that information.
Okay.
So I didn't expect that.
But we're required to respond back
Okay.
to any of the complaints or concerns. So I responded back.
Okay.
Blue tracks that.
I don't know how to handle this, but I guess from the complaint about the bollard on Donovan Road, I had made the request to DelDOT, I don't know, a couple years ago, whatever else, when they take out those bollards for whatever reason, there's a silver or gray collar about 4 or 5 inches that sticks up, which is a hazard. The top of the bollard on Donovan's Road, as Aaron pointed out, was off. Well, now they've removed the whole thing, and the only thing that's sticking up there is that gray collar for the bollard. I had recommended to them to spray paint those things yellow, so the same color of the bollard themselves. So for someone that rides it all the time knows where they are. But when they're removed for visitors, and I have seen a person run into the thing and crash, not knowing it's there because it's almost the same color as the payment. I think that we ought to make the request to DelDOT to do that as a committee, that when they're replacing it or they're out, it's different if there's 2 or 3 of them in a row, but if there's a single bollard like it's on Donovan's Road, it's a real problem.
And that one came in this morning as well.
Yeah, I just noticed that this weekend, Ray, and I totally agree that is absolutely a hazard.
So that's an issue at Donovan's. Also, the kiosk there is only 2-sided at the moment. The 3rd side is totally gone, that faces Savannah.
Yeah,
a little
but
bit yeah.
that's right along Savannah Road.
Right, but that kiosk is now 2-sided versus 3 because something has happened to the entire Savannah side.
Right.
Okay, so we owe DelDOT some updates there. Okay. Wrapping up, just grant opportunities, TAP projects. We know there's one that I anticipate we'll hear more, which should be at American Legion in Savannah. It'll be a study, and we'll certainly be engaged in that. Haven't heard anything more on that. Have you heard
No.
anything? No? Okay. Something Ray brought up for us last year that I just want to keep throwing out there so we have it in our head, which is the cycling infrastructure grant that can go to Delaware Bike Council. They're submitted typically in August. So just something that as we talk about any infrastructure, which we'll get to a little bit later, just something I want to keep on the radar, that those are due in August. Last item on my updates is Lewes Planning Commission had a meeting. One agenda item was the process and procedures for updating the comp plan. Their meeting ran over on other topics, and that agenda item was not addressed. Just trying to, again, stay on everybody's radar. I did send an email, I never heard back, that we want to be a part of that. Specifically, there are sections which are mobility, recreation, and community design. I think that all fit very well within our wheelhouse. So again, if we keep saying it enough, maybe someone will hear us. Okay. The charter we know is with legal counsel, so we're off of that. So now we're on to new business. At our last meeting, I talked about wanting to have a conversation about a strategic plan for this committee and us looking at some goals and objectives. And I mentioned at the meeting that I would be following up with all of our committee members after the meeting, which I did not do, and nor did I tell you why I didn't do it. So I owe each of you an apology for that. Thinking about what took place at our meeting at our last meeting, and sort of thinking about it, it resonated that we have some housekeeping still left to do that we need to take care of before we go and talk about a strategic plan or any other goals and objectives. And that kind of loose end or housekeeping item is the bike plan and the bike plan's presentation to Mayor and City Council. Our ex officio, who isn't here tonight, brought it up at our last meeting, and after that meeting, that comment did resonate. So what I wanted to talk to you all tonight is we need to make a presentation to Mayor and City Council. Julia, tell me if I'm right. I'm thinking it would be at a workshop where there can be some give and take.
Yeah, most likely.
Okay.
With no action taken.
Right. So we have a couple of ways to do that. I'm interested in folks' feedback, and if you need to live with this and percolate, tell me that as well. We prioritized the infrastructure projects, and we lived with those. We looked at them, we prioritized them, and we came back, 4 months later, looked at them again, and still we're on the same path with those. So, at least in my head, I feel comfortable that we could present at least our priorities of the infrastructure projects to Mayor and City Council. And if someone were to say, well, why would you do that and not wait and do the entire plan? I think it would be because it would be helpful for Mayor and Council to have a sense of what infrastructure improvements we feel are important, those that are part of the bike plan, as other things are coming up in the city and they're talking about it, and how those projects might be impacted. Whether that's the capital improvement plan, that's one thing, but I think an example I will give, and it's not necessarily tops on the list, but you may remember from the bike plan that one of the ideas was to come Freeman and over Freeman and kind of somehow cut across by the Cape May Lewis Ferry utility maintenance building and connect to Georgetown to Lewis Trail. Now, that connected to a bridge over Freeman and a high dollar, et cetera. But I'm using that as an example because just last week at Mayor and City Council's workshop, a conversation came up about potential new development on, or 2 parcels on Gills Neck Road. And as a part of it, there was the possibility of donating an acre to the city for a park. And that acre is exactly the back of that property that connects to the maintenance building. I am not saying tonight that that's a yee-haw, let's put a trail through there. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that's just my example of why I think we need to get our priorities, at least infrastructure-wise, out so Mayor and City Council, we can hear their feedback. What if we think our ideas are great and they don't? I'd like to know that sooner rather than later. So that's one thing I want to hear folks' feedback on. The second is we could then, the follow-up to that is we could then present what we prioritized but we haven't dug into with details is our policy and program recommendations. Yes, we talked about some education pieces. We talked about not being ready to put together an ambassador program yet. We talked about some wayfinding signage and that the wayfinding should be incorporated into each of the infrastructure projects. We did some due diligence around the policy and program and the wayfinding, but we didn't dive into it. So I don't know that we're ready to make that presentation to anybody. What we could do, if we're not ready to make that presentation, are you interested in feedback from Mayor and City Council about what they'd like to see about policy and programs before we do the work and then come and say this is what we'd like to do? If we make a presentation on infrastructure or policy and programs to Mayor and City Council at a workshop, it also allows for public comment from other than our meetings. So I know that's a lot, and that's a lot of words from me, so I take that. But I'm interested in where you all are. I'd like to round robin and put each of you on the spot, and just let me know how you feel about us engaging Mayor and City Council in this work. Ray, want to go?
Sure. I have some ideas about what we've done so far and what I think is important to me and what I think is important to the committee as far as what we've lined out. But it may be, since we're just an advisory group, we're not a group that has a final decision on what we've come up with. It may be helpful to know where the mayor and council are coming from to help steer us in one direction or another. More input from them may be helpful for us as far as we can either fine-tune or advocate for this, that, or the other as part of what we've come up with so far.
I totally agree. I think it'd be great if we could get them to give us their priorities or their thoughts on that before we would. Since we're advisory, I mean, that would give us direction about what to look at. So I think that's a great way to do it. As long as they're willing to go that route, then I think we should ask them.
Would you put them both together, or would you do infrastructure projects which are kind of future, this is what we'd like to see on this road, along with hypothetical policies and programs, or would you divide those up?
For me, I would like to see us take a shot at doing both at the same time. If it's too big of an ask, then we can certainly divide it up. But I don't know if we can eliminate some steps as far as with them is concerned. I don't know. I guess it depends on them as far as their time and availability, as far as giving us feedback is concerned, whether we should divide it or not.
Okay?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think the more feedback we get from them, the better, so I'd lump them together.
Much as we got.
Yeah.
Glenn?
Yes, so two things come up. One is that when we were working on replacing our supposedly comprehensive plan, we said there's a charter in there and then there's some policies and stuff that we would address separately. So we left that as an action item to understand what are current policies that, the next level down from our charter, and then to me, the next level down is specific action items. So I think the policy document, we either need to trash what those other policies that we had in the comprehensive plan, or understand which one of those still makes sense. And that's one thing, and I can. So that's one thing, and then the other is that we'd worked with DelDOT on an overall set of infrastructure items, like that, changing the road structures, et cetera. And I think that reminding, us taking out of there the things that are most important and potentially doable in the short term, and make sure those are like on the radar of the city council, that would be a useful thing for us to do, I think. But we'd gone through an exercise of defining those already, right? So
Right, but those are just our opinions. Mayor
that
and
was,
City.
well,
Right.
DelDOT took those and then created a report and said, here's some things that can be done to make biking better in Lewes.
Right, but the city would still, Mayor and City Council would still have to agree to those because they would also have a financial obligation within them.
Right, so what I'm suggesting is that we relook at that and take those things out and remind the city what we think are essential from that.
Okay, great. Aaron?
Heavy duty.
Be right back. That's okay. We'll collect him in a little bit. Okay, so I think we're all on the same page. I gotta say, if we're gonna put something together and put it before Mayor and City Council, it's gonna take all of us to do that, okay? So, let's figure out how we sort of divide that up and see what that looks like, and then we would request to go on a workshop, right? And workshops are once a month or? Once a month. Okay. Okay.
Mary, I could take an action item if you guys think it makes sense, and like, we had policies in that comprehensive plan document. Pull those out, I could look at those and see what I think makes sense, and then ask you guys, are these things that, like, the sidewalk should be a certain dimension and crosswalks, et cetera, and we can knock that out. That's pretty easy, I think, and then we go on to the infrastructure stuff with a larger group.
Well, the only thing with the policies is, I have a feeling that, Glenn, and I appreciate you taking that action item, but I think you're gonna need, and I'm wondering if it's Janelle, because those policies have some age on them, and
Yes.
there are ordinances within the city that city ordinances, or whatever's the right term for it, are going to override whatever's in that policy document. This committee doesn't get to decide how wide the sidewalks are. So I think somebody with more knowledge than we,
I believe that the Planning Commission is working on revising the ordinances. If I'm thinking correctly, that Janelle had said there were a lot of ordinances that needed to be looked at and updated.
so Glenn,
Perhaps an action item that would make sense is for me to take, are these ordinance or policies included in something else that the city's doing, or should we just trash the things that are here and say, we're replacing this document with a charter?
okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, Julia Shaw, may I work with you on that? Is that? to get, or to Janelle? I'm not sure who Janelle is.
Janelle is the city planner.
Okay, so do you want me to put together some questions about, and extract this document and say, here's some things here, do these go away, or are they current or replaced by something else?
I can share with you some stuff after the meeting.
Mary and I we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what we'll talk about. Okay, do I have more paper? Really? Wow, I'm on a roll here. Okay, so we are agreed we're going to present to mayor and city council. I don't know what that looks like just yet, so we need to follow up on that. Anybody have anything else on that? No, I'm trying, Glenn. I am 6:24. Okay. Last item is something that came up, and we're going to go back to pictures because I want to talk about the trail crossings at Adams and Monroe. Adams is the library. So, hang on one sec. Do west, please. Is to see if we can improve safety at the trail crossings, specifically at Adams and Monroe. So the reason that I'm bringing these pictures to us is, for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm all about consistency. It's one of my things. And I was out there wandering around, and there's a lot of inconsistent messages out there. So, Blue, I'm going to hopefully do a good job of this, but you have the pictures. So this is west. So you're looking at the library in front of you. We have 2 bollards. We have a small stop sign, and it says Adams. And the stop sign underneath of stop says stop, read, stop. That's what that, stop, read, go, excuse me, stop, read, go. So, not really sure that seems like a real stop sign, but anyway, so just stick with the consistency here for me. Okay, next one. Oh, that's the same sign, okay. Well, same picture, no? Okay, so now let's go to Kings Highway. So you're continuing on down the trail as if you're going towards Kings Highway. Well, anyway, there we go. You get to Kings Highway and you get this big stop sign, a look again, and a twirligig. What's the name for those? There's a word for them, something.
Yeah,
That's broken, by the way. But anyway, you get one of those. And you get bollards, and you get a crosswalk. Okay, next picture. Coming from, say, the station back, because we're going towards back, there's the trail again. Again, we have a bicycle pedestrian crossing and the whirligig, okay? Go, one more. Okay, then there we go. Now we're going back towards the library. We're still on Georgetown to Lewes Trail. Now we have this sign that I've never seen another one like it, don't know where it came from, and it says, slow down, pedestrians ahead. Don't know where that came from. No one seems to understand where that came from. Okay? Now we're going to go to west. Did we go to west, or we already, oh, east, thank you, Blue. I don't know my east from my west. Okay, now we're looking, we're not going east, but I'm showing you there are no bollards here, none. So why we have no bollards there, don't know. And up back, here's our cool stop sign on that side. Not only does it say stop, read, go, it has the little lights on, the little eyes on it, okay? So that's at that crossing with a whole lot of mixed messages. Now this is Adams. Now go to Monroe. We're just continuing on. We get to Monroe. And your stop sign at Monroe is a real stop sign. Look again, tells you Monroe. You've got a stop sign coming up on the trail sign with a flamingo on top. And is that the only other one? And you have 2 bollards on each side. So, we're trying to make sure that drivers are cautious and understand that bikes are crossing. We're trying to make sure that bikes and pedestrians are cautious and understanding. Rules of the road tell us that bicycles, if they are in a crosswalk, do not have the right of way unless the person on the bicycle is walking it. And then they are a pedestrian, and then they're in the crosswalk. All super good, but we all know that people are driving, riding, walking, whatever. So my question to any of you is, Adams is a city street, correct?
Yes.
Why are the things that take place at Adams so significantly different than the signage, et cetera, at Monroe?
I don't know.
I thought the little eyes or headlights, whatever you want to talk, I thought that was library related. And I don't know if that's correct or not. That's when I first noticed it. And I thought it used to say something other than that. I thought it was book related or whatever else, that someone had, compromised the stop sign there.
And this picture does not show it effectively, but if you back up about 20 feet, the landscaping significantly obscures this stop sign. So I just think, there's a lot of action going on there. You have the food pantry, which is terrific, which is right there on Adams on your way out of the parking lot.
Landscaping?
That landscape. See that second?
That's library.
Right, but still, it obscures
You're
the
right,
baby
but
stop sign.
That's not city property, so maybe that's why that sign is different, because maybe the library had that put in.
Right. So,
I
but
need to
it's
go.
busy. We've got stuff at the library, we've got stuff at the Rollins Center, we got stuff. It's a very busy intersection, and we're trying to keep everybody safe. But for some reason, this is like the stepchild here, this Adams, compared to, I know DelDOT is putting the signage up for any DelDOT road, but I guess what I'm saying here is whatever DelDOT is doing at a DelDOT road suggests that people cycling and walking are used to that. It needs to happen in the city as well.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the signs that label the different streets, that's something that DelDOT did throughout the Georgetown-Lewes Trail, a year or two ago, because there was some complaints about people getting hurt or breaking down and not knowing where they were. So they
Nice.
Put those up. I forget what they called it, but something to identify them where they were, as long as marking each half mile, I believe, along the trail and on the pavement and the signage. So I'm guessing that DelDOT put up the original signs along there, but I don't know that for a fact.
Well, but you would, I would think that, having the consistent signage, and might as well base it on DelDOT, they're all over it. All of our crossings should mimic the DelDOT signage.
Well, I think we have behavior, and behavior is just that. Through education is the only way, I believe anyway, that we could probably correct behavior. But I think if this is what you come to before you get to any road crossing, then that's what we want
Right.
the city to look like
Yeah.
as well, so that you're respecting those road crossings as you go. And if it's on somebody else's property, then we need to
Well,
find
the
another
stop, read,
place to
go
put it.
now makes sense because they want you to stop, go to the library and read, and then go again. So that's why I think that that's probably their, and has to be their sign. It makes sense that it would be theirs.
It is.
If that's the word.
I think it needs to go.
I will
No stop, no read,
just go.
just go.
Look again.
I like the look again. I like the whirligig. I think anything that causes you to stop.
Yeah, I think the look again, being the bright color and the below the stop sign is a very good idea.
And my guess is that you have that because I believe that is a state road, Kings Highway in Savannah.
That's Del Dots Road.
Yeah. So I think that's probably why that's the look again as well as the twirly thing on
But if
top.
we mimic what's done on the state roads, then we're more consistent, you're going to get more consistent
Agreed.
compliance.
Since we have an official in the building, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
So, Blue, can you go back to west, maybe? West? Please? And I didn't send you the correct picture, but this would be the best way I can do it. So if we look at this sign, and we know that to the left is the library, and that little pantry that's there, there are signs on Monroe. The bike ped coming, yellow signs before that, on Monroe, before you get to the trail, alerting drivers that there's bike peds. Because you're coming out of a parking lot, would that restrict us, the city, being able to put up a, traffic sign? Does that make sense? I'm not sure my question
No.
made.
No, not sure exactly what you're asking.
So when I come out of the library, and I'm coming up to this crossing,
Yes.
okay, could we put one of the yellow yield signs, Blue, do I have a picture of that on Monroe? Oh, now you have to go to Monroe. Such a challenge. No? One more? One more? No. Like the one on Kings Highway that tells you that you're coming up to a crossing?
I don't see why not, as long as it's a city-maintained roadway.
But the parking lot isn't, or is that one? Could we put one of those up when you leave the library?
I don't see why not. If
If it's on library property, you'd have to have.
we have to go
approval
through the
from
library, right.
Okay.
So that's the problem with their stop, read, go, where they are, is that that's on their property. We have this side that the caboose is on. So that's our right-of-way, that we are, that's city property.
The sign would probably go right where the little mini book library is, where they, in that area.
Right, in the book library, if you're coming, the library is ahead of you and you're crossing Adams, the book library, I believe, is to the right, not to the left.
Yeah,
The pantry.
The pantry is to the right.
Is coming out of the library, it's to the right.
Right, so if you're going across Adams from where that sign was, right, Blue?
Oh, thank you,
To the
Blue.
right,
Blue,
right, wrong way, that way.
your other right,
Isn't the,
this way. Can come back
Turn
to
around.
the library, put it in reverse, there we go.
oh,
yeah, there's.
oh, back, left,
Spin.
Left.
Don't you?
there,
There it is.
sorry.
Okay.
Okay, I thought it was on the other
So
side.
that's where I'm wondering if somewhere in there, can we get a sign?
That is library property, so that would have to go through the library.
Okay. So we, as a committee, make our request to the library?
You're making a request to the city to contact the
Request to
library.
the library.
Okay.
I can, yeah, I'll get back to you, I'll find a contact.
And how about the similar sign going in? Is there a sign going into the library?
From the other side?
Yeah.
No.
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 So
So there could be one there.
Because I think what we're looking to do is mirror Monroe. Right down to the bollards. Like, how'd they get a trail crossing with no bollards?
That I can't tell you. I have no idea who did that.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense.
So you want it to mirror Kings Highway, not Monroe?
I don't think I took a picture of Monroe, but I think Monroe's got the sign I want on it now.
I'll
So
check.
if you'll give me, I'll go take a picture. I'm pretty sure Monroe's got the sign. And I'm guessing that,
There's Monroe.
yeah, but that's old. That doesn't even have the stop signs. So just like maybe we need to write this up for you, Julia, would that be helpful?
Sure. I have notes,
Okay.
and I can rewatch the meeting too, so. But
Okay.
yeah, if you have like bullet points that you want me to specifically address, then yeah, that's fine too.
Well, I think we're just looking to kind of improve the safety there for everybody. And also, I mean, if drivers are, those folks going to the library are the same folks that are driving around town. So they're seeing those signs prior to a trail crossing. I think it's helpful for drivers to be like, oh, and here's another trail crossing, because they're seeing those consistent signs, as well as cyclists and pedestrians are as well. Okay, Aaron, are you back, or are you still?
Simon went down.
Oh.
Simon was like,
Good night, Simon.
yeah, it's funny with the post here. I'm like, oh, it only took 10 minutes for him to go to sleep. Good job, bud.
Is there anything you would like to weigh in on or share your thoughts on our conversation?
I see the need for a little more consistency there. I think it's an area where, because of the trail turns and the multiple intersections, people are slowing down a lot anyway. We also have a big drop-off and pickup point by the library. So I think it's an area where cyclists are probably exercising a lot of caution regardless. And I also see the need to just be consistent. And I think it's one of those areas where it's such a hub for where cyclists and pedestrians are moving around Lewes, and is adjacent to downtown, where that consistency makes a lot of sense to me, and consistency there is great for the rest of our infrastructure.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we lost Glenn, but we got close. We have some folks, we are now at public comment side. You all have joined us tonight. Would you have any comments you'd like to make? Have any questions you want to ask us?
Just thank you all for doing what you do.
Well, that's very thoughtful. Thank you. Okay.
I have some, I think,
You need to come up to the microphone, state your name and address.
Yeah.
You have to come up to the
We like
microphone
to-
and state your name and address.
We don't ask for social security numbers, though.
No.
do I come up here?
Yeah, you have to come up to this microphone and state your name and address.
My name is Bonnie Mann. I'm at 101 Canal Street, actually in Rehoboth Beach, but I bike here a lot. After looking at all of this, I think you all agreed, to me, all of Monroe, Adams, all of those different intersections that we looked at and near the library, I feel like all the stop signs should be the same size, a del dot size. They all should have the whirly bird and the yellow sign that said whatever, stop and look. It should just be consistent at all of those different intersections. I believe that's what, I think you guys all agreed with that. So then it wouldn't be confusing to vacationers and people that have never been here before. So
Thank you for that.
thank you again for all that you do.
Great.
Because we like to bike here a lot safely.
So, while you're up there, you bike from Rehoboth. How do you do that? Which route do you take?
Goodness.
Herring Point, Gordon's Pond.
Herring Point, Gordon's Pond,
Okay.
and we come around by is that the VFW or
Yeah?
American
American Legion.
American Legion, come up, and we come here and we have lunch, and we have coffee and maybe dessert, and then we go back the opposite way,
Junction and
Breakwater?
Breakwater.
Junction and Breakwater.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's any area, do that. Any areas of that make you feel unsafe?
Yes. The intersection that you just showed where you could cut across the grass on, I guess that's Savannah Road?
Gills Neck.
Gills Neck. Or you can go past the grass and then do like a 90-degree turn on the nice pavement. Because that has been difficult before that happened. So, and that road is skinny and 2 cars passing at the same time, and you're trying to get over in the grass. So the car, like you said, if you're coming up there and you're trying to turn, you're slowing down a little bit because that's a really, really sharp turn. Either way, on the grass or on the pavement. I'm not sure why that was developed that way. Anyhow, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. If there's nothing else,
I have something I'd like to add.
please.
From the police department's perspective, I think one of the most unsafe things that we see on a daily basis is cyclists who have a misconception that they have the right-of-way in the crosswalk. I know you guys have done a lot of outreach and passed out a lot of literature. You know, maybe some type of sign along the bike trail just advising the cyclists that they don't have the right-of-way in the crosswalk. I think since the bike trails have been put in, we've maybe had 3 or 4 minor accidents, really non-injury. Nobody's ended up in the hospital. And, you know, we'd like to keep it that way. But, you know, I view that as one of the biggest issues on the main roads, Savannah Road, Kings Highway, and Freeman Highway.
Okay, thank you. I think we have talked about, we want to be respectful of sign pollution, but we also understand that there's sort of rules that we want to put out there on
Sure.
the trails, and whether they're, and not individual, where we're sort of calling out that it's all cyclists' fault or somebody else's fault. But some of the rule signs that are out on existing trails outside the city anyway are in a font that's like a 6.
Sure. Sure, I understand all the rules can't be put on the signs. You know, I definitely look at this one and say it is a safety concern, and it is Delaware law. You know, unlike the stop signs that are posted up for who the bicyclists or the people walking to stop, it's not actually a rule. It's not enforceable. You know, the pedestrian, the crosswalk has the right of way, the cyclists don't, and I think for safety reasons, the cyclists need to be made aware of that.
Okay, thank you for that. We
Sure.
appreciate it.
I just want to add, I just spoke to a neighbor.
I think it's a tough tension because often when the cyclist is crossing, well, it's tough because the cyclist who dismounts their bike becomes a pedestrian, if I understand the law correctly, and then they do have the right of way, which, you know, if you're a cyclist or a driver, I don't expect that most people would know that. I've also run into, in a lot of the intersections around here, that we have a lot of really well-marked intersections where people are crossing the road when we're on a trail, and most drivers will slow to a stop or think that they should stop, particularly when they see the whirlybirds or there's signage going on and people approaching, whether they're on a bike or not. That seems healthy to me, and I feel like the burden is still on the cyclist to say, okay, is this driver stopping or not? And then importantly, the cyclist is more likely to not just look at the driver on the near side where they're trying to cross, but then look at the far side and say, is that driver also giving me time to go through or not? And at least in my experience, when I've been the driver, I've been the cyclist, if I'm on the near side and I notice the cyclist and I stop, I have no control over what the driver on the far side is doing. And it's on to the cyclist to get into a median or, you know, look both ways. And this is true when you're driving too, right? When someone's waving through, hey, make a left turn across this 2 or 3 road lane. Okay, you're telling me I can do that, but I can't speak to the people behind you. So I don't know if we can effectively do that with signage around here. The stop and stop again and look both ways, I feel like is pretty directive and good. If there's additional signage that says cyclists yield to cars that can help, but I feel like we have a pretty good culture of drivers being cautious around these intersections too.
Yeah, I had a neighbor that brought up the exact same thing. He, you know, had an incident where he came to, I guess it was on Savannah, and I think there was a police officer behind him or someplace who was pushing him to go through, and there was a bicyclist and had to stop. And the bicyclist gave the finger to this guy, and the police officer pulled over the bicyclist and gave him a talking to.
There you go.
So, you know, but there's a lot of bicyclists that think they have the right of way.
Yeah, and I don't get that. I don't understand that. But you know, even the sign that you talked about that has the cyclists and pedestrian, I mean, that almost can almost send the message to the cyclists that they have the right of way going across there, even though I know they don't. The other problem is that I, as a motorist, and I'd say 75% of the motorists, when they come across there, they see someone on the bike, even though they don't, the motorist has the right of way, I don't want to hit any cyclists. 75% of them will slow down or will stop. But some don't, so you better be, you know, if you're going to be hit by a car, you're going to lose if you're on a bike. So you better be ready to stop. But as Aaron makes the point, you know, the person in the first lane stops for you, but you better be checking in the lane on the opposite side of the road, make sure if there's someone coming through there, it's going to stop. You know, and not every, they have it on Savannah. They used to have it on the Kings Highway, you know, an island there, but it was taken out. So, you know, you better make sure you have room to stop in an island or just not go through. I had one incident where this was old Orchard Road. I was coming across, a motorist stopped, and the car was coming up from behind them, didn't see them till the last minute, slammed on the brakes, screeched through the almost hit the person, and the person that was stopping for me, you know, hit the gas accelerator to go through, and if I had gone across there, I would have been hit.
I don't know what it looks like, but I would love for us to be able to have signage around that is helpful to folks, but not, well, not just not pollution, but not the you may not kind of thing. I don't think that's who we want to be as a town. I think something more of the, you know, did you know? Yeah, like a did you know? This type of thing, somewhere, whether it's on the trail, whether it's around town, whatever it is, where we're educating people. When we were in Bethany and walked around, they have some neat, like, friendly signs at intersections.
Even their commercial type thing that they showed us in the very
Right.
beginning, the wave,
Right.
that was.
And that's what I think, you know, people need to, you know, abide by the rules. But I think it's about the way that we share those with them, something other than just being that hard and fast. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate that. Anything else from anybody?
I just have one other thing. So I just saw in the paper that the Fourth Street Forest, that's a tongue twister, had a conceptual plan. And there were going to be a bunch of paths through there and everything. So I think we ought to be involved in that to see if it's bike and pedestrian, the pedestrian paths or what, or how you access them, things like that.
Okay.
So I think we should be involved in that look of the plan.
Great. Okay,
Ready for a motion?
I'll take it.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
Aaron, you good?
Aye.
All right, folks, we are adjourned. Thank you very, very much. Thanks for being here.